Hey there, everyone. It's Between the Lines, and we are back to continue where we left off yesterday because a lot's happened in the past 24 hours, but most importantly, a lot is really still happening now. And so there's a lot to cover over this video and the next few others. Thank you for joining us, and without further ado, let's get this started. So, as you all know, former Vice President Joe Biden seemingly won the election. That's pretty set in stone considering they have 279 electoral votes. And it has been a historic vote with more people coming out to vote for them than any election in history. Trump came to only 214 electoral votes, and with such a staggering difference, other world leaders have been reaching out to Joe Biden and his team, congratulating them and wishing them luck on the road ahead. The road ahead starts with recovering from what's been going on from a very turbulent year. 2020, as many of you know, in the United States has been riddled with lockdowns, strife, and what is considered a lot of mismanagement by our highest offices that hopefully can lead us to a better road. So that's what's been going on. You all know about it. And what's really important right now, with the vaccine supposedly coming out soon, Biden finally winning, and everything he talked about is coming up with a plan. And he started to live up to those actions. Today, November 9th, 2020, he has been meeting with his own task force that he has been forming, even though he's just won this election. So he's on it, trying to put something together, and with it, as soon as he's done meeting, they're going to come up with a plan that they're going to basically open up to the United States to fix what has been happening and what's going on. Now, what's going to happen is going to be up in the air, but the team he's put together is some all stars. It starts with the former Surgeon General that's going to be the head of the team, and along with a former FDA commissioner and even a doctor who specifically researches marginalized populations and impacts upon them, especially in times like this. In the world, healthcare should be considered a right. And what that means, just like food and water, it is a necessity to survive. And with that, it is a necessity that is often taken for granted and widely debated. We've heard about this for the past 10 years, ever since our old president, Barack Obama, came up with the Affordable Care Act, or, as we all know it, Obamacare. And Biden endorsed that as the vice president and was part of that historic moment to help reach out to those marginalized communities to give them something they've never had. Healthcare is in the United States is one of the most expensive in the world. And it doesn't matter how good your doctors are if they only serve a select few. And the reasons for that are quite many, and we will talk about that in future episodes about what is causing big pharma and the prices to skyrocket for healthcare that could otherwise be readily available for other people. And so, with that task force, especially including someone that specializes in marginalized populations, hopefully we won't just find a cure. We'll find a cure that will even help those most in need, those who are lacking the ability to afford what should be readily available, what the Obamacare and what the Obama administration began to rectify before legal and political hurdles got in the way. Now, while the Obamacare and Affordable Care Act has helped millions get access to health care that they did not have before, it's also opened up the doors to a discussion that has widely not been had. And while, of course, everyone has talked about healthcare, it's been a political hot topic for as long as we can remember. With Obamacare, it opened a door. And that door was to get through that impassable barrier of wealth and inequality that kept so many Americans from being able to get the health care and what they needed to survive. So having a team together that's focused on continuing that legacy, especially during a global pandemic that has killed millions of people and infected millions more, this is the time where we need these types of focus to make sure that everyone is protected, because you can't just take care of the top. If the bottom suffers, the virus lives. If the cure is not widely available, the cure will not be implemented fully. And that is what is really standing out for Biden's task force on what they're going to do. And also, speaking of the coronavirus, one of Biden's team members is Dr. Rick Bright, and he is one of the whistleblowers that's called out the Trump administration's mismanagement of the coronavirus despite the information they had. So it looks like they're going for a very transparent group that has our best interests at heart, and so best wishes. All we can do is wait and see what happens, because with this, the coronavirus handling isn't all that Biden's promising to do in his early days in office. What Biden has promised is to use the executive branch and the powers that be through executive orders, which is the president's ability to issue an order or a rule that has the same force of law. And what Biden's going to do is overturn some of the more divisive Trump policies, which include the travel ban to predominantly Muslim countries in the Middle East, reinstating DACA to help the Dreamers find a path to citizenship, an otherwise impossible scenario that they're in, and to rejoin the Paris Climate Agreement. Now, what these policies do isn't just overturn 4 years of decision making, it's much bigger than that. These policies are focused on bigger picture items. Because as we've talked, the past has happened, and the present is now, and a lot has happened recently, but all we can do is try and build the world to be better for tomorrow. And that's where, if we are more tolerant, if we are more inclusive, and if the world has less barriers and obstacles that force people into impossible situations, it will be better for our children. And especially with the Paris Climate Accord, which is built around making sure that we can control and monitor our climate change and impact, that can only help the future. Even if we don't have all the solutions right now, it helps us track it. It helps keeps things transparent, which as you notice is a recurring theme. Everything needs to be transparent if this country is to heal, and Biden has been promising to do just that. And in response to what he's trying to do, former President George W. Bush Jr. actually called to congratulate Biden, and his words were beautiful. George W. Bush called personally to say that this election was fundamentally fair. Fair. And that's something that we haven't heard a lot of in the news recently. And there's a lot of reason for that. This is a power play. This is an argument of privilege. You have the most powerful people in the nation utilizing everything at their disposal to discredit an election, a national election for our United States president. And even George W. Bush, a Republican president, called Joe Biden to say that this country will see that this was a fundamentally fair election. And Biden's own comments to follow this when he spoke to the nation, what his goal is. He seeks not to divide but unify. He doesn't see the red states or the blue states, but the United States. And that's a very powerful statement because, yes, there are political differences on both sides. There always has been, and there probably always will be, as long as there are different cultures, backgrounds, and experiences, and ignorances, as well as tolerance. But we have someone promising to seek to end that. And that is a powerful statement that we need to think about. Why is that something that is so fought against? Why is that something that is a revolutionary idea? And that is what is wrong with our political climate today. What Biden said himself about trying to unify is a two-way street. He is willing to do his part, and I'm sure many of you are as well, but that's a two-way street. Love begets love. But there has to be less intolerance, there has to be less injustice, and there has to be an effort to bridge that gap. And this has been an era of strife and inequality for many, many years. The wage gap has grown larger. The 1% has grown richer. The poor have earned far less than many generations prior. And above all, to go back to when Joe Biden was vice president, when that historic moment came and Obama spoke of one word, change. That is what is needed to break the chains of the past. That is what is needed to build a foundation for the future. And whether Joe Biden does that or not, only the future can tell. But from what he's saying, he will. And from what people are saying they want him to. All we can do now is sit and wait, and of course look at what is going on and what is being said to see where we can go from that, because change is hard. It always has been and always will be. But it's necessary. It's necessary to survive. It's necessary to thrive. And that is what we need. And so, all we can say here, look between the lines of what's going on. And on that note, let me say this. If you haven't already, if you like our content and you like our talking points, please hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and of course, join us in the comments with what your thoughts are. Is this going to be the change that this country needs? Is there going to be more issues that arise from this? Will Joe Biden's new task force come up with a solution to a pandemic that has impacted the entire world? And what can we do to make this country a better place? Thank you all for listening, and make sure that you stay safe in these crazy times. Whatever happens, we are in this together. Here in the United States and the rest of the world. It's a smaller place than it's ever been, so let's work together and let's keep on talking about what's going on. And thank you all again. Take care.